Hello, welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. Today I'm joined again by my friend Jacob of the Rise to Liberty podcast. We're on part 3 of Who the Fuck Are the West Memphis 3. We'll be continuing our coverage of this. Last episode we went into some of the confessions, the many confessions. We'll be piggybacking off that similar narrative, getting into some of those things along those lines, timelines, alibis, confessions, incriminating statements, things of the like. Maybe delve a little bit into physical evidence as well today, setting the scene, much more along those lines. But I mean, we'll get into all of that in the show. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the show. Hello, welcome back to the show, Jacob. Good to have you with me, although I see you every single week, but I don't get tired of that beautiful face. We're here again to talk about something not so fun, although we do try to do it in a little bit of a goofy way. Maybe that's disrespectful to the topic, but I don't know. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. Right. And this is some dark shit we'll be talking about today. Continuing our series on the West Memphis 3. Senseless violence done to young boys by older boys. At least that's our take. Seems the rest of the world thinks these guys didn't do nothing, but that's what we're here to tell you guys today. That I don't know. I think they may have the right guy from the jump. But I know, Jacob, do you want to give a little bit of a quick recap of last week's episode for the audience to remind them what we were digging into and kind of... I think we'll be kind of picking up a little bit where we left off in that same vein.
Yeah. So last week we really dove through and into Jessie Misskelley's 8 confessions, the 8 on-record confessions. There are more, but they're kind of like half substantiated. They're the sources are kind of wonky or whatever, but these were all 8 like on record verified confessions. And so we kind of dove into that and looked at what he said, when he said it, what stayed consistent, and what changed throughout the entire time. One thing I wanted to do real quick before we get just into a quick recap. There's a paragraph out of William Ramsey's Abomination that I think kind of will be a good jumping off point. And this is kind of like right in the beginning of the book. It's just on page 30 for anyone who has a copy. And it said, police interviewed as many suspects as possible, working without breaks or much sleep. Tips of all sorts kept them busy following leads. Hitchhikers, school teachers, drifters, truck drivers, sex offenders, and known occultists were investigated. Many individuals were polygraphed using new equipment acquired by the West Memphis Police Department. Officers queried the National Crime Information Center, the NCIC, but only the record of Mark Byers popped up. He had been arrested the year before on cocaine and weapons charges. A cab driver told of a passenger who paid $390 for the drive from Memphis to Nashville on the night of the killings. The police never found the passenger. The West Memphis police continued to hear sordid tales of cult activity, Michael Moore's 10-year-old sister, Dawn, reported seeing cult members exiting Robin Hood Hills with blackened faces. Dennis Engel, a fire and brimstone preacher at Lakeshore Baptist Church, knew of cult activity and forwarded his concerns to the police. So, point of me bringing this up is that the police were on constant cycle of tracking people down, investigating them, because one of the largest arguments is that these boys were just targeted. That's it. And it's like this police department, they were constantly interviewing people, working without sleep, working without lunch breaks. I mean, for 30 days solid almost. They interviewed everyone they possibly could. And also, I wanted to keep the cult and the occult, the esoteric stuff in the kind of the front of people's minds, because that will pop up a lot more later on. Let's see here. So just to run through what we did last week, the confession consistency analysis, the timeline events consistent across all tier 1 and tier 2 confessions, which are the ones that matter the most. 6 p.m. meeting time at Robin Hood Hills. Okay, so to blatantly explain this, these are all the things that stayed consistent across all the confessions. So regardless of what confession, these are the facts that were confirmed by other outlets, other witness testimony, all these other things. So these are the things that were not only true, but the things that stayed consistent across all confessions.
Now, not to jump ahead, I know Jesse, he in our last episode, he's the one who gave the 8 confessions. With these confession consistency analysis, this is the tier 1 and tier 2 confessions we talked about last week, which those are like we kind of define those, or you define those as like the more hardcore ones that Jason dropped, the very substantive ones. Now, with this consistency analysis, is it only Jesse's confessions at play, or are there other people's confessions that we haven't discussed yet that are included here? So, okay, just his. Okay, just wanted to be clear here. Although I know that'd be kind of jumping a little bit ahead, but I just want to be sure. This isn't like comparing information we haven't delved into quite yet. So, but okay, just the stuff we talked about last episode. Got it.
Correct. So this is just kind of like a quick recap. So, the facts that stayed consistent the whole time: 6 p.m. meeting time at Robin Hood Hills of all 3 West Memphis 3. The 3 young boys approached around 7 p.m. Damien and Jason initiated the attack. Jesse chased Michael Moore. Severe beating of all 3 victims. Sexual assault occurred. Jason castrated Christopher Byers. Jesse prevented mutilation of Michael Moore. The boys were tied with their shoelaces. The boys were drowned in the drainage ditch. Crime scene cleaned with a zigzag pattern with like leaves. Jesse left boys after the boys were tied up. Jason called Jesse around 9 p.m. and Jesse was extremely upset after the call. The elements that did vary between tier 1 and tier 2 were minor timing variations, all within normal memory variance. Level of detail. There was more detail in the recorded sessions, less in brief confessions. Specific sequences of some events, but overall narrative was consistent across all 8. Elements that never contradicted were the core facts of who, what, when, and where. Roles of each participant, the timeline of major events, and the physical evidence details. So, I mean, that's kind of like why these confessions are so important, is because those are the things that never changed, which is what matters in a court case,
And as you have laid out here, we should probably make a point to also just rehash, because there are multiple victims, multiple defendants. I mean, the whole I guess point of the, not necessarily point, this series I started, when we started with this, was kind of the idea of that I didn't know shit about the West Memphis Three. It's kind of this thing that's always brought up in parapolitical circles, and I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't really know anything about this, hardly, maybe just tiny bits. And it's kind of one of these things people talk past each other. And I think this is part of why, because there's multiple victims, multiple defendants. It's a little bit kind of confusing. There's also this, like, they're guilty, they're innocent, they're guilty, they're innocent, they're guilty, they're innocent. It's a little bit confusing from the outside looking in. So I think it's probably worthwhile. I'll just rehash them real quick. The victims for the audience, just a reminder, because I'm assuming a lot of people are kind of coming at it like I am too. I know we're part 3 now, but just to rehash it, just to
Still
implant it in your
confusing.
head. Yeah, it's still confusing. So we have Christopher Byers, and these are the victims, all 8 years old, as we mentioned before. Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, which that one's easy to remember for obvious reasons. And then the defendants, the ones, the whodunit, at least who we think done it. Damien Echols, which is obviously the most famous of the 3. Jason Baldwin and Jessie Misskelley, which Jessie is the one we covered pretty much almost exclusively last episode in his 8 or plus, confessions. This was 16, 17, and 18 were their ages, not in any particular order there, but I guess I'll tell you, Damien Echols is the oldest, and Jason was the youngest, and Jessie was the middle kid there. I don't know if it necessarily matters. I don't know if you know offhand if they were on the same grade. At least I know for me, grade matters more than age when it came to that age frame. So
I believe Jason was still in school. I believe Jessie and Damien both dropped out.
Okay. All right. Got it. So basically, school was a non-factor. So, I mean, I would assume Damien was kind of the probably unspoken leader, essentially.
Yes, without a doubt. He was the ringleader.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, these witnesses, I guess, will come up. I guess Damien's girlfriend, Dominique. I mean, I don't expect anyone to remember these. Since there's multiple, but we'll remind you as we go through. There's also Jason's girlfriend and Jesse's father's girlfriend. And we got Jesse's friend, and then a Carrie Morris, who's another witness, and then I guess there'll be other ones. But just to go over the names real quick, I feel like it's worthwhile since that's the whole impetus, I guess is the word I was searching for earlier, of this series was kind of to hold our hands through what the hell is going on here. So we wouldn't be doing our part if we didn't remind you these names, the key victims, the key suspects.
Right. So now we're actually going to switch documents real quick. And once again, anyone who hasn't watched part 1 or part 2, these documents, they're something I've created, and there's some editing I've got to get done. But once they are entirely done, these will be available for free for the public. Just as my way to kind of give back to the research community. I think it's important, and I'm a visual learner, just like many people. So, now, here's some of the critical facts that matter. Once again, the boys went missing May 5th, 1993. They were found the afternoon of May 6th, 1993. Now, here's the critical facts about the victims. Christopher Byers, age 8. The cause of death was massive blood loss from genital mutilation, castrated while still alive. The hemorrhaging in the tissue proves this. So he bled, because funny thing is dead bodies don't bleed. So the hemorrhaging in his tissue proved that he was castrated while alive. His skull was fractured like an eggshell, blunt force trauma.
Which not so fun. I did want to mention, not so fun fact, but I know it sounds odd to some people because you would think, you hear stories people getting like extremities blown off all the time, but you can literally die from getting your dick cut off, which, that is a vein. People say drain the vein. It's literally a vein that fills up with blood at certain times. So I guess it totally makes sense that it would be an area that you could quite profusely bleed from. So
and in the part 2, I actually showed pictures of some sticks that were recovered from the crime scene. And these were the sticks that were used to cause the skull fracture or the blunt force trauma. Defensive wounds on forearms, tried to protect himself. Also, this is where it gets brutal. Anal dilation and superficial bruising, possible sexual assault. Bruising on ears and lips suggest forced oral contact. Bound wrist to ankle with black and white shoelaces. Now, this is also kind of interesting. So the bruising on the ears and the lips, that's, from somebody taking his head and squeezing it and, forcing him to perform oral.
I feel like it's a bit of a jump logically. Not that I really want to get in the weeds of understanding that, because it's kind of a disgusting thing to wrap your head around, but
it is.
I guess maybe, I guess.
So,
I don't know.
Well, the bruising was consistent with that. And mind you, all of this information comes from the medical reports. So this is what the medical examiner put down in the report.
Okay.
And if you look at the pictures of the bruising on, the poor little boy's head, it looks like fingers. It's very, very apparent what it was.
I guess I get it. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And here's also what's really interesting. One of the occult ties is the bound wrist to ankle. So it was not wrist to wrist. It was his left wrist to left ankle, right wrist to right ankle. And that is like almost unheard of. Like it never happens that way, which is one thing that makes this case very unique. Now, Stevie Branch, age 8, cause of death, blunt force trauma and drowning. Deep facial knife wounds, cheek and jaw torn open on the left side. Skull was fractured, bleeding inside brain. Inhaled muddy water, alive when placed in the ditch. Genital injuries. A tight band or object was wrapped around his junk. Fine scratches consistent with forced manipulation. Bruising behind ears and on lips, sexual assault indicators, blue candle wax found on his clothing, which is important later. Michael Moore, age 8, cause of death, blunt force trauma and drowning, multiple skull fractures, internal brain bleeding, water and debris in lungs, alive when submerged, no knife wounds, no genital mutilation. This is critical. Found 30 feet away from the other 2 victims. He wore his Cub Scout uniform on the day of the murders. Anal dilation can happen post-mortem. No penetration injuries. So
not to get gross, that just means it relaxed. So I guess that would totally make sense that it happened post-mortem.
So this is actually like one point of contention with the crime scene and everything, because the anal dilation could happen from sexual assault, but it also could happen just post-mortem. So it's there with Christopher Byers, there were other indicators that he was sexually assaulted, but with Michael Moore there wasn't. So they both had anal dilation, but Michael Moore had no other indicators. Christopher did. So,
which obviously that's going to be key, because I know we talked about last episode that I believe it was Jessie kind of I wouldn't say saved Michael, I think, but I guess to some degree, sort of comparatively with the other things that happened.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious now that with the Michael Moore, was there ever anything that came out? Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves with maybe some sort of connection between Jessie and Michael, because I know he seemingly was going easy, but it was only particularly on Michael. But it's also kind of hard to understand how exactly things played out. Maybe that was just the boy he was kind of manhandling as opposed to the other kids, and that just happens to be why he got a little bit off easy, because he got the nice guy. I mean, I guess comparatively once again, but. So I don't know. I was just kind of curious if there's any sort of odd connection between the two, like maybe they knew the families or something. I don't know.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that there's not. I mean, that we are talking about a very small community. I mean, but it is also still large enough to where it would be possible to where you could, say, for instance, see someone drive their car and never meet them, if that makes sense. Like, it's small enough that you might even know who drives a particular car, but large enough that you would never meet them because there's enough people. So, and also, I mean, these guys aren't really hanging out with 8-year-olds, but now there is some indication that Damien was stalking these 3 boys beforehand. So there is some indication there, but as far as Jessie Misskelley goes, there's no like prior connection, at least that I'm aware of. So there could be, maybe, but kind of unlikely. Let's see here.
And all right, like I said, now we'll probably get into maybe we were talking before the show, perhaps getting into Damien Echols and maybe some of his statements he made that seemed to be self-incriminating. I don't believe he ever technically gave any confessions like Jesse did, but he said a lot of shit that really may as well be a confession.
Right.
So
right.
that perhaps maybe if you find ways to stretch it this way or that, you can go, oh no, he didn't do nothing, or he was just goofing. He's just a goofer, just all satire, you know.
Just new boot goofing.
Just like what was it like? Yeah, last night we had on Dana, and we were talking about God, I can't remember his name. The guy who did The Realist, or not The Realist. It was a satire magazine, but he was connected to some of the Processian type people. God, I can't think of his name. It's really bugging me. I can't think of his name. Super feels dumb bringing it up. I had it on the tip of my tongue, and then it escaped me as soon as I brought it up. Larry Krasner. Yes. He was the editor for The Realist or The Edge, or I forget which it was. I think it later became Edge or something like that. It was essentially an offshoot of some Epstein entity. But anyways, he always, kind of, touted himself as a satirist, and so that's how he said some wild shit that was like, "Oh, it was just satire."
Right.
Same idea. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna start breaking into Damien Echols and some of the things that he said, which are suspicious as fuck. Like, it's just, and you are right. He never gave like an outright confession like Jesse did. Jesse's the only one that confessed, and at least a confession as far as the law is concerned. Now, my opinion is that these incriminating statements are a form of confession, especially because of the type of knowledge he had, what he said, and when he said it. So before we get to this document out of Abomination, there is a section in here about the investigation. This is May 9th, 1993. The police decided to bring Damien Echols into the police station for questioning. At noon, the interview began. Detective Ridge wrote down general information about Echols. 5'8", 175 pounds. Wow, kind of a fat ass. Let's see. I'm
5'5", 195.
Yeah, but you exercise. Exercise. So, that's 195 of muscle, Let's see. So he had several tattoos. He had Domini or Dominic. Domini was her nickname. On his right arm, the letters EVIL on his knuckles of his left hand. He had a large pentagram tattooed on the center of his chest. All of the tattoos were self-administered, and the police noted that the pentagram on his chest was particularly faded. Echols wore a necklace with a pentagram pendant, which is important to note. So keep that in mind. Damien Echols told the detectives he dropped out of high school in 9th grade, but he passed his general education development or GED exam. He stated to police that he was at home at the time of the murders. When asked about his cult activities, he confirmed he was part of a group that included local residents Murray J. Ferris and Bob Loomis. Detective Ridge wrote in his notes, quote, he stated that his belief was there was a goddess and not a god. He stated that everyone in the group works towards a divine light, and upon reaching that stage, they become like gods themselves. He has been a member of this group for about 5 years, he stated. Damien confirmed he liked to read books, and one of his favorite writers was Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey, author of the Satanic Bible. According to Detective Ridge, Damien said, quote, he figured the killer knew the kids, went into the woods, and even asked them to come out of the woods. He stated, he being Damien, he stated that the boys were not big, not smart, and they would have been easy to control. He also felt the killer would not have been worried about the screaming due to being in the woods and close to the expressway. He further stated that the killer probably wanted to hear the screaming. What an odd fucking statement to make. Like,
very odd. Yeah.
When asked by police who did the crime, Damien Echols responded with one word: Satanist. During questioning, Damien offered information to the investigators that only the killer would know. Surprisingly, he said the murderers had urinated in the mouths of the three boys. This evidence was unknown to the police at the time of this interview and would only be confirmed by the medical examiner after the completion of the autopsies. Damien also said that the penis was a symbol of power in Wicca and that the number 3 was numerologically significant. He also stated that the person who committed the crime probably felt good about the murders, and it felt good that they had the power to do what they had done. Damien also said that the more innocent the victim would be, the more power the perpetrator would have received from the sacrifice. He added that the Black Book of Revelations was his favorite book of the Bible, or the Book of Revelations was his favorite book of the Bible, as the devil was handing out all of the punishment. When asked who he thought committed the crime, Damien suggested L.G. Hollingsworth, Dominique Tier's cousin, so his girlfriend's cousin. Coincidentally, Hollingsworth was also at the police station to be interviewed about the murders. The full transcripts can be found in the book and also online. So, I mean, he's already commenting about the occult. He's admitting to being in a Wicca group or like some sort of magic occult group. Has been a member of this group for 5 years. I mean, he's making odd statements like the killer, would have known the kids went into the woods, that the little boys were not smart, not big, and they would have been easy to control. Would have felt like the killer would not have been worried about the screaming due to the woods and the freeway, and the killer would have liked to hear the screaming. I mean, and then the most damning comment that he makes is that the killer urinated in the mouths of all three boys at this time. So
he probably urinated. He's just making a wild guess here. So pretty good guess.
Right. I mean, he has to be the best guesser in the world, because this is, so.
I mean, you can safely assume you find three boys dead in the woods. Somebody probably peed in their mouths, Jacob. So.
Right. I mean, this is just normal knowledge. Everyone pees on dead little boys in the woods, Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is this information. So this information he gave to the police on May 9th, 1993. This information wasn't found out by the medical examiner until the autopsies were done, which was, it was like 2 weeks after that. So, I mean, Damien's showing that he has foreknowledge of what is happening at the crime scene long before the police even know. I mean, that's just, how would you know? It's so damning. But it gets even worse. So on May 10th, 1993, this is once again also before the autopsy is public. He was questioned by Detective Brian Ridge once again. Damien volunteered this information that the boys were cut up. He also volunteered the information that one of the boys may have been cut up more than the others, which was true. And also that the boys had drowned. So, I mean, that's some pretty specific information. And mind you, at this point, the newspapers didn't have this information. The newspapers were running saying that they were mutilated at this time, but they gave no specifics. So once again, how would he know exactly who is cut up, who isn't cut up, who drowned, who didn't drown? And this is just days after the murders. So it's not like this is a month after the murders when the media actually would have had this information and put it out. Once again, May 5th, boys go missing. May 6th, the boys are found. This is May 9th and May 10th. So all three statements were accurate. Autopsy results were not yet public. Now, that same day of May 10th, he also agreed to a polygraph statement or a polygraph test. The statements he made during this, he was asked what he feared, and his answer was he feared the electric chair. Quote, the electric chair was like the actual quote. He also stated that the killer probably urinated in one or more boys' mouths. So this is the second time that he says this. Killer would feel power and think that the murder was funny. So there became a certain point where the police kind of got like frustrated with this because of what they were hearing. They did keep their cool. I don't know if I would have been able to, but at a certain point, they kind of back him into a corner and almost get him to fully confess. But then he stops himself. And he tells them, this is after the polygraph test, but he says, I will tell you all about it if you let me talk to my mother. So they say, okay. And they bring his mom in. Damien and his mom have a private conversation. I don't know exactly how long, but they have a private conversation. And then after the conversation is done, Damien doesn't say anything. He stops talking. That's it.
Do we know of any weirdness with the mom? A little bit of a side tangent, but I mean, it's pretty common when you hear about these cults. So you hear like mothers. So maybe not at this point. This will be something we dig into later. There's weirdness with there. Okay. All right, that's what I was driving at because I didn't know. I mean, it's pretty common. It's always a lot of these things are generational when you dig into these sort of things.
Right.
Per program to kill, it's kind of a dime a dozen. Some motherly figure or older woman, very common thing that seemed to be the guiding hand.
Right. So I don't actually believe that she was involved in like whatever group Damien was involved in. However, she is an abused woman. And the guys that she gets with abuses her kids. And I'm sure there's substance abuse issues. I mean, she was taking Damien to go get all of his occult books and stuff, and so she supported it. But as far as I know, and I could be wrong about this, there was no indication that she was involved in the occult or the cult group that he was involved with.
Fair enough. It's also his mom, so it's also like you don't have to make up something to be like, oh, she would have incentive to want to cover for her son. So
right. Yeah. Well, and this is not to say that she's not involved in the occult, just that I haven't found anything to say that she was involved with his extracurricular activities outside of buying him the books and stuff like that. So outside of just being a mom, but at this point, detectives were really frustrated with him. They were expecting a big payoff at this point because, he said, I'll tell you all about it. Let me talk to my mom. They said, sure. He talks to his mom and then he shuts up. He goes cold. And then the detective, let's see, what was his name? Detective Brian Ridge comes in and asks, you're never going to tell anyone about this, but your doctor, are you? And Damien said, nope. And that was that. That was the end of that was the end of his questioning, basically.
But your doctor is an odd statement. Do you have any context for that? I don't know. Like there's some sort of doctor in play here or something that was said?
Mental health doctor is what he was getting at. So
Okay.
because at this point, I believe the police had access to Damien Echols' mental health records, and he was in 3 different mental health facilities. So he had an ongoing doctor, which is
Gotcha.
the only conclusion that I can draw from that is
So
what
he
he
had like
meant.
an ongoing psychologist, psychiatrist. I always forget the difference in the two, but he had an
Yeah.
ongoing relationship. Okay,
Hmm.
which I mean, I don't know. That's a when is this? It was in '93. Okay, this is.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's notable to at least mention that.
Hmm.
I don't know. I know me. I don't know about you. Like I know I have a wife and two daughters. So at least with me, I could totally foresee a situation where they'd be like, "Ooh, therapy," because it's a woman. I don't know, women are in that shit. Not that any of them have really done it or anything like that, but just I'm saying it's not really that ubiquitous. It kind of is. I mean, I guess you hear lots of people in our modern world do therapy or
Right.
see someone, which I don't know. Maybe there's some other issues, but in the early '90s, and then as an 18-year-old man, I just feel like
Yeah.
something's. I mean, whatever. Some people need help or whatever, but I think at
Well,
least something about that's outside of the norm at the very least.
right. Well, and this is like well beyond like I just need somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a state appointed doctor, like and he is on antidepressant medication at this time, I believe.
But you said state
Um
appointed. Was there a previous crime before this, or this was appointed because of
no,
this?
because he spent time in 3 mental health facilities, state mental health facilities.
Okay, we're on
And
the
he was
McGowan path right now.
right.
You
Um
watch. I'm telling you, Reprogrammed to Kill. It's like every other person has been in like 12
yeah.
different fucking. Like it's like almost like they sent
Mhm.
them in there for tune-ups. So
Right, exactly. And then it goes hand in hand with the cult stuff, or
mhm.
the magic Satanism stuff. It always goes hand in hand.
And those
Um,
people probably all that shit's inadmissible in court too. So it's like even
right.
if you somehow could get them to admit it, you wouldn't be able to admit that in court. So
But they were actually able to get his mental health records. It's called Exhibit 500, and they used it to be able to help prosecute him. So, because he was a grown ass adult. So,
then it violate any
um,
like HIPAA or confidentiality because I just
the
feel like a
the judge
doctor would
accepted
be.
it.
Huh, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know enough legally, but that just seems like something that would be along the lines of like a chaplain or like a priest or a lawyer to where like they legally can't even be compelled. And so but anyways,
Right.
okay, but maybe there's obviously some weird loophole or something here, but whatever.
Right.
All right, back to where we were.
But yeah, so I mean, he he was in some mental health facilities for some gnarly stuff, and not just depression, although depression was part of it. But the failed polygraph questions. So he only took one polygraph at this time, anyways. I believe was May 10th, 93. Questions asked, he all answered no. But these are the ones that, according to the polygraph test, he failed. The questions were you in Robin Hood Hills Wednesday or Wednesday night? Damien answered no. They determined that was a lie. Were you present when those boys were killed? He said no. They determined that was a lie. Did you kill any of those 3 boys? He said no. They determined that was a lie. Do you know who killed those 3 boys? He said no. Lie. Do you suspect anyone having killed those 3 boys? He said no. That was a lie. So once again, polygraphs are what they are. I don't think that they are the end all be all, right? They never should be taken that way. But it is an extra data point to all of this. And the thing is
It's like it's
I
the equivalent of I think of like maybe a little bit stronger than a sources say. It's like
right,
take it as like it's a something to be like okay, it points a little bit in one way, but don't go too far with it.
right. Well, and
It's for vibes basically.
I think you also have to ask, like, is it consistent with what we're already seeing? Is it consistent with what we can prove to already be true? Then it's probably safe to say that it is true.
Yeah, it's almost
And
more of like a double check your work type thing, I guess.
yeah, exactly. It's a verification. Like, is this really happening? And I think it is. So it's Not the end all be all, but it's something to know. Okay,
All right, I guess we got multiple alibis here now, so which is a common theme. I mean, how many times do we hear with any of these stories? Everyone has 3, 4, 5 alibis that change. Which, to be fair, I guess I shit on them, but at the same time, like, I don't know if I was asked for a random point in time in my life and where I was, I'm not gonna lie, you'd probably end up getting 3 different alibis because I'd probably be like, oh shit, I was wrong. But anyways,
right. So, I believe I believe Damien only ever had 2 separate it was 2 or 3. It was some really small number. However, all the alibis have always failed. To this day, in December of 2025, all 3 now men still don't have alibis. Period. They don't. They never have. So alibi failures. Damien Echols, version number 1. This was given on May 9th. Mind you, when he first told the cops, the boys were urinated on. So his alibi was that his father picked him up at 6 p.m. from the local laundromat, which is actually like kitty corner across the expressway from the truck wash, which is next to Robin Hood Hills. So he does put himself in the area, but he puts himself at the laundromat, kitty corner across the expressway. And then apparently, after his dad picked him up at 6 p.m., he went straight home. Version number 2, this was May 10th, so the next day, his mother picked him up. His mother was also with his sister and father, so it was a whole family thing. Had picked Damien up before 3 p.m., and they went to a family friend's house by the last name Sanders. They stayed, so the Echols family stayed at the Sanders residence from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then after that, they went home. And then once Damien got home, I think he said it was like 5:30 or 6. He stayed on the phone all night with 3 or 4 different girls. It was 4 different girls.
He's bragging to the court.
Right. So why did this change? The father moved out of the house. Mind you, he moved out of the house on May 4th. So the dad wasn't even there. He realized that the police could verify this. At trial, he actually ended up admitting under oath that he fabricated the phone calls. So in version 2 of the alibi, he basically said, oh yeah, I was on the phone from like 5:30 or 6 till like 11:30 at night.
I talked to these, we can check phone records, right? And he's like, oh, right.
Fuck. Right. Well, and not only that, all 4 girls, their testimony, well, they didn't give testimony, but their witness statements or their statements to the police basically proved the alibi wrong. They were like, no, I never talked to him. I didn't talk to him that day. The one girl that did say that she did talk to him that day said that she couldn't get him on the phone until about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, because she called his house at around like, what did she say? Like 7 p.m. And Damien's grandma picked up. Damien wasn't there. And so Damien's grandma said, go ahead and call back later. She called back later and didn't get him on the phone until like 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's pretty great. He got hit with the old stepbrothers in the next bullet point too. It's like, I know you're lying. Cops doesn't come on till 3.
Right. Yeah. So under oath, he admitted he made up the phone calls. He also complains about the girls never being called to the witness stand. Ridiculous. The Sanders family said that he was there at their house, watching Beverly Hills 90210. 90210 didn't air until 7 p.m. So, there's still a couple of hours missing right there. Damien said he left the Sanders at 5 p.m., went home immediately, and then was on the phone all night. So there you go. Stories don't match. Additional evidence. Carrie Morris saw him following Michael Moore around 3:30 to 4 p.m. on May 5th. So the day that the boys go missing, this is, one of the witnesses of him following Michael Moore around. Strange, super strange. And the thing is like nobody else really looked like him at the time either. Like nobody in this community looked like him. So I wish I had that. I should have had that pulled up in time. Maybe on the next show I'll get that pulled up so I can go through it, because it's very evident that it was him, especially the way that Carrie Morris was explaining it.
Do you have much more deets? Another side tangent about the Sanders family, because that's not either one of the suspects, family. Right. So it's a separate other. And I'm noticing they're kind of giving him an alibi, giving him an out here. Right. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's some truth to some of it. I have no idea, but it does kind of sound like, wow, you guys are giving this guy a complete. You're trying to give him an out, so it kind of makes you wonder. Right. And the family's in on it, so I don't know if maybe there's connections, with his some of his occult stuff, or maybe there's nothing that you've heard of. But I'm just curious. It'd be odd for me not to ask, I think.
Right. So now I haven't seen anything. I also don't know enough about them to legitimately say like yes or no. But I do have suspicions. So I'm speculating that there is some sort of connection. Because I believe they had a girl, the Sanders family had a girl around all of these kids' age that went to school with Jason and Jessie, and Damien before he dropped out. Of course, this is the early 90s, so everyone's hanging out at the local skating rink too. And crazy thing, Damien was actually pretty popular with girls. Not like a lot, but I mean, he had some girls hanging around him, that dark, mysterious, brooding thing. I can fix him,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there is some sort of connection there, but I have never been able to find anything to necessarily verify that. So,
okay. Well, I guess let's get into the other two guys' supposed alibis that obviously are probably going to completely fall apart, but let's see what they have to say.
So Jason Baldwin claimed that he was home the entire time, didn't leave at all that day. Other than he did say that he was in school that day, but that wouldn't matter because first of all, how is that an alibi? Second of all, the murders didn't happen until school was long let out. So, I mean, that doesn't matter at all. Now, the mother cut the interview short before really any details were given. Now, this was actually on May 9th because the first time Damien was questioned on May 9th was in the driveway of Jason Baldwin's house. Jason Baldwin, Dominique Tier, and Damien Echols were standing in Jason Baldwin's driveway being questioned by the police. Jason's mom comes out, gets pissed at the cops, said, "Get the fuck off my property." And that's that. And you know what? I can't really blame her for that. Like, don't be questioning my son, So I get that. I don't think that that's all that strange, although some other people have said, "Oh, that's so strange. They're just questioning." Well, yeah, fuck the cops, Like, I'm not a huge cop supporter, although in this instance, I am on their side, but this isn't that weird to me. Anyway, she cuts the interview short on May 9th. Now, what's interesting is Jason's girlfriend, Heather, just like with the other girl that couldn't reach Damien, couldn't reach Jason. The mother's boyfriend didn't get home until after 9 p.m. And he was questioned, said that Jason wasn't home. So that's kind of why that matters. At trial, he did not testify against himself. The only one that ever took the stand was Damien Echols, and he offered no second alibi. So that's kind of where that lands. Like he said, I was at home the whole time, and he never gave another one. So
Trust me.
Yep. Trust me, bro.
Which, to be fair, I guess, I mean, that is probably the best alibi you really could give instead of trying to give a bunch of bullshit alibis like it seems like
Right.
everybody else was trying to.
Right.
You're almost better off just be like, I was at home. Can anyone prove that? No.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then his defense attorney was like, don't testify. It was a huge mistake to let Damien testify. So we're not doing that. And Jason said, okay. And yeah, it was, from the defense perspective, it's totally the right decision. Jessie Misskelley. So he didn't really give an alibi because, he confessed, right?
Mm.
But he did give two alibis. Trial alibi number one, he tried to state that he was at Stephanie Dollar's trailer. 3 police officers testified under oath that they never saw him there. So, trial alibi number 2, that Jesse couldn't have committed these murders because he was at a wrestling event in Dias, Arkansas. They found a receipt when they went to Jesse's place, and they found that the event was on April 27th, not May 5th. So, boom. Both alibis just screwed. That's, yeah. And I said,
we also got the dad's statement up there too that I think you zoomed over, but I feel that's probably worthwhile mentioning. Right. The dad saying he might have been there and seen it, but he didn't have anything to do with it. Jesse's dad, which I think we mentioned last week as well, since that tied into his confessions. But either way, still kind of a nuts thing for a father to say. A little bit of a slip. Yeah. Right.
So, it was his dad, Jessie Misskelley Sr., who made this statement directly to the news media. I believe it was local media. And the way in which he said it was kind of like, well, my boy might have been there, but my boy is a good boy and wouldn't have done any of this. Like, yeah, he might have been hanging out with these hoodlums, but my boy's a good boy and wouldn't have
he might have been hanging out with this group of people who are brutally murdering children, but hey, he wouldn't have done it. And to be fair, you know what, to some degree, you know what, I guess the dad might have actually have a little bit of a point, because this is Jesse, the one we talked about last week. So I don't know exactly what he did in this infernal tango. But it, who knows? Maybe he did. Maybe he was there and saw it. But obviously he didn't have anything to do with it. Would be a huge stretch. But maybe he didn't literally. I don't know if he actually did any physical violence or if he just restrained but he did seem to be the voice that was trying to mediate the others, trying to pull them back. Right. So particularly in regards to Michael Moore, which obviously, as I've said, it's all comparative. Compared to the other monsters he was with, he was slightly less of a monster. So obviously, still a monster nonetheless. I mean, I guess slightly the less comparatively, but it's still a monster. Still a monster. Still doing awful. But I guess he may not have really, for all we know, he may not have gauged too much in any of the awful stuff. May have just been almost sort of forced to watch, kind of, perhaps. Right. I'm not entirely sure. Right. All right, we I think we've kind of got a little bit through all the he said. Okay, you got something else you want to add to this?
Yes. Before we move on from that, I actually just found the actual confession itself. So,
oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes long, so it's a quick little thing.
The following clip, I'll read this for the audio people. It says the following clip is part of a news story that aired on June 7th, 1993, 4 days after the arrest in the West Memphis child murders case. We believe the story was shot on June 6, 1993. And it's lingering on this frame for a long time. We'll get there. All right, here we go. In this clip, Jessie Misskelley Sr. is asked if his son, Jesse Jr., might have been at the scene of the crime with the two friends he'd also implicated, Damien Echols and Jason Baldwin.
I don't believe he did. No, he could have been with them, but he did not have anything to do with it, I don't believe. Well, I don't believe he did it. He could have been with them, but he did not have anything to do with it, I don't believe.
So, it's like,
It says this clip would be referenced as son's trial as prosecution called into question Misskelley Sr.'s claim that he'd seen Jesse Jr. at 7:15 p.m. at home the night of May 5th, a claim that would be further challenged by the teacher of the alcohol safety class Jesse Sr. attended that night, who testified she hadn't let class out until at least 15 to 8. Now, I will say, just looking at that, it does kind of strike me as some sort of borderline unintelligible Boomhauer type nonsense, to where I don't know if I put a ton of stock into it, but if you add into the context that he was essentially kind of a loose alibi of sorts, and that's him essentially saying, oh, no, I didn't see him essentially during that period of time. He could have been there. That's, despite the Boomhauer, maybe he's just kind of, he kind of honestly has that, like, very well might be blitzed right now. Because it's he strikes me as the, obviously I have no idea, but he strikes me as the old-timey country, kind of functional alcoholic, probably has a whole routine to his drinking, is probably just absolutely blitzed damn near all the time.
Well, that's the vibe most of these people in the area, because this is a lower middle class to poverty is the demographics here, largely white. However, there is quite a large black population that lived in West Memphis at this time. But it is mainly white. But like the average yearly income, was, it was like $10,000 or $12,000. Like it was like below the poverty line, right? So, this is a really poor area. Lots of people not finishing high school. Not that it makes them bad people by any means.
Yeah.
But it is just lower
it's a demographic
class of
we're
people.
describing here. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I'm describing what I grew up in, the area I grew up. So I'm not even really like, I've just seen that stereotype, that specific character before. Right. So I kind of recognize, oh yeah, that's the guy who probably putters and is out of his garage, downs a couple about 10 beers, tinkers with his car, goes and drives to the corner store, gets some more beer, rinse, repeat. That's the vibe I get from it. And then maybe, in the morning he goes to his job and just kind of just has a whole routine centered around drinking every day is kind of the impression I get. Obviously I'm completely guessing. It's just that's the vibe I get out of it, and especially kind of corresponds to kind of what I'm aware of. All right, we had talked about kind of the little bit of the he said she said here, but I think we had talked about perhaps also setting the scene. So obviously it's a little bit your audible call here. If you want to just go ahead and end the episode here, we can. But I also, maybe we could kind of on our way out, if you wanted to. I know we had talked about just kind of setting the stage. Maybe not, this isn't necessarily the physical evidence per se. We're just what the scene looked like, and then that way when we pick up next episode, when we come back and delve into the physical evidence, and kind of what ties these people to the scene, we'll have a better idea of where to go or where we're at or what's going on. We'll have a better idea of what's going on. Right. But so it's up to you if you want to just leave it as is, and then we can start off next episode laying out the scene, or if you want to lay it out before we go, that's completely your call.
So I think we'll hit just a couple more quick things, and then we'll get out of here for this one. So I've
I'm retarded. I didn't realize there was more confession stuff. I saw you were on your thing.
No, you're good. You're good. This is actually a good place to end it. So this is actually a third document from which I switched. So the Michael Moore detail is what this is called. Why this is critical information. So Jesse knew which victim was not mutilated. right? Just like Damien admitted in 2 separate days which kids were mutilated. So, I mean, that's intense. So Jesse would have admitted to this in his confession number 1 and number 2. Number 1 was to his friend Buddy Lucas. Number 2 was to the police, which is recorded. And then Damien would have confessed May 9th and May 10th. So, yeah, it is important to remember Jesse knew which victim was not mutilated, but Damien knew which one was mutilated. Jesse's confession, Jesse was holding and beating Michael Moore. Jason came over to cut Michael's genitals. Jesse told Jason no, prevented it. Michael was not cut like the other two.
Okay, so there you go. Up. I do want to point out real quick because I had mentioned earlier I wasn't entirely sure what Jesse had done, but okay, he himself admitted that he was holding/beating Michael Moore.
Right.
So because I guess I kind of surmise that perhaps there's 3 guys, 3 victims. I mean, it's kind of like it makes sense that each would kind of subdue an individual one. I mean, I know these are 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and they're going against 8-year-olds. So like, let's be real, I could fight probably a whole horde of 8-year-olds and come out the victor. But if you are trying to do this obscenely awful things to them, I mean, it's like, yeah, I could win a fight against a cat, but if I'm trying to restrain it and it's completely just going berserk, good luck not getting completely clawed and jacked up. So it makes sense, from a logistical perspective that each one of them would take one and kind of subdue him. So perhaps this was his, so he was, obviously engaging in violence, but I guess he just wasn't as apt to go as far as the other ones did.
Right. Well, and I mean, think about it too. Like if you're fighting, a bunch of 8-year-olds, that's fine. But I mean, these kids knew that they were, not just getting beaten up. That's why Michael Moore took off running, and that's why he was found 30 feet down from where the other 2 were. So, and they were trying to fight back. So, but yeah, I mean, they got overpowered. So, the autopsy reports confirm that Christopher Byers was castrated, massive genital mutilation. Stevie Branch had genital injuries, violent squeezing and scratches. Michael Moore, no genital mutilation, no knife wounds. So exactly how or why it happened that way, who knows? Like I don't know what kind of fight that Jesse put up about this. Why he put up a fight, why Jason wanted to mutilate one of the other kids. Like I don't know. I don't know about any of this. I mean, none of it makes sense to me because I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to murder and mutilate 8-year-olds. So none of this makes sense to me.
Yeah, kind of hard to make sense of any of this nonsense. I mean, it is pretty evil. It does feel weird every time we're talking about the logistics of how they do this. I mean, but we kind of have to somewhat wrap our heads around it. But it is it's pretty awful when you're talking about the logistics of how a child dies. And I mean, these are 8-year-olds. That's awful. I mean, like, I don't know. It's crazy. These are ridiculously young.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Let's see. There was. Okay, so Damien's autopsy knowledge, the pattern. Damien knew details before they were public. So May 9th, this is an important bit of information. The questioning that happened on May 9th when they were in Jason Baldwin's driveway, the police actually gave them a questionnaire. Okay, that was the type of questioning that they got done. The questionnaire is an FBI questionnaire that's actually like given to extremely violent, violent perpetrators. And so you just basically answer what you feel. Like there's no right or wrong. It's just answer what you think. These were where Damien answered things like, I'm scared of the electric chair. He was the kids died from being cut up. He was asked about why somebody might have done this, and this is a key thing. He said that it was a thrill kill. That the murderer killed these 3 boys as a thrill, which is really odd. Really odd.
Now you're saying this was a questionnaire they were given, so that is important context.
Yes.
So it sounds like this is like they gave them almost a little packet, and it was kind of like a series of questions and of what they think what was most likely.
Yes.
Is perhaps okay. Well, that changes the context a little bit, because this, how I've seen these mentioned a few times or in the little notes, and it was like, was this just offered without anything? But no, it sounds like it was a questionnaire. Still weird, because it's like, well, you nailed it there, bud. Right. But it is, a little bit different if it is like literally the task is they are being asked to give their best guess on each one. Right. Like, how would you guess that they died? Cut up, which I don't know. I guess to be fair, I don't know. You could probably make some guesses. I don't know. I guess if all you knew was kids died, I guess it is kind of a wild one. The motive and the feeling, I don't know, maybe put a little less stock in that, because it was like, if you are just asking somebody to guess, why would someone do this to 3 8-year-olds? I guess I could see how someone could say that was the case, that, like, why would anyone do that other than for some sort of sick thrill? I really can't even wrap my head around. It's not like those 8-year-olds did anything of egregious to you. Like, I can't really think of any other reason to murder 3 8-year-olds. Not that I'm looking for any, but
see, the reason why this gets brought up is, in the way in which Damien was acting at this point. So, because that is something to note. And at this point, when he went to court, he was flipping off the parents. He was smiling at them, licking his lips, and like shooting them, like blowing them kisses and stuff. Like, he was. This is how the people that claim innocence, they will say, oh, he was just being an edgy teenager. He was making edgy jokes. It's like, yeah, but he's up for murder. Like, he's going through a trial for murder.
That's the most important time to keep a smile on your face, Jacob, when the cards are down, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
And he pretty much acted this way the entire time. So when you look at the whole thing, and I'll actually bring up the questionnaire next episode, so we can actually like just see how the questions were worded, because it will make a lot more sense.
Okay.
But this is an FBI questionnaire that's basically worded in a way to get you to confess if you're guilty. If you're not guilty, you're not going to answer anything incriminating, because you're not guilty, right? And so with all of this, it's really all of it put together, because this just by itself, like him saying these things, not that big of a deal, like you said. But when you put it in, when you gather it up together with everything else, it once again just looks really bad. Could he have been just an edgy teenager making edgy jokes? Yeah. But then it doesn't make sense when you start looking at all the other ways he was acting, all the other confessions that he's giving, like being a part of an occult group.
Having the edgy thing doesn't make sense to me, because you're like the idea of him antagonizing the parents and stuff, which I don't know. I'm part of my, I guess, for those who follow me long enough, know, like, the Tower Gang and stuff. Like, I make edgy jokes. I find that fun. I like saying no words. I don't know. I've got a pretty infantile sense of humor, somewhat. But like, even still, if you're in that serious situation and you're like, these are literally, like, you're on trial for the most heinous crime. I don't know. To some degree, I understand the idea that I would likely, in a similar situation, probably try to keep somewhat of a jovial attitude, not try to, because there's almost no real point in being upset, But even then, it's still kind of the flagrant disrespect seems a bit over the top, and it's like I can't even really wrap my head around that.
Right.
I understand that, like, facing tough times with a smile on your face and with jokes or whatever, I do that very much. I'm sure there's probably many people horrified by some comments from this episode, but I mean, trust me, I find this stuff all incredibly awful. But I'm also, I don't know, it's a whole other thing when it's literally the parents there, you're doing them harm. I mean, if I was interviewing say I was interviewing one of the parents, I obviously would handle it much differently, despite the fact that I mean, we're a little bit. I mean, even then, it's still I'm not trying too hard because it's still even then pretty somber subject matter here.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm someone who's that's kind of my shtick, and I'm still whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's just no matter how you look at it, he's being an asshole. He's being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
This, it's not funny. I'm all for covering the topics that we do, and I'm with you 100%. We have to make weird jokes and dark jokes, and we have to do this stuff with a smile on our face because you're gonna laugh or cry.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff is horrible. The parapolitical world is horrible. The things that we deal with are the darkest of the dark. And I totally understand why police officers have to do the same thing. They deal with death on a regular basis, and they have to crack dark jokes to keep themselves together. We have to do the same thing, although to a lesser extent. But this think about it. Because you gotta keep in mind the narrative from the people who claim innocence. These boys were just picked on. They're innocent. They didn't commit this murder. And yet Damien Echols is going to act like a piece of shit. No, you're going to be upset because you're being framed for murder of 3 little boys, of which you did not commit. You're going to be upset because all you want to do is go home and listen to a Metallica record. You're not going to be acting like the police can't touch you. You're not going to be acting this is all funny. This is all fun and games. Because one of the things that he admitted is that the killer would think that this was funny and that he wasn't concerned of getting caught. And at this point, Damien was acting just flippantly. He just didn't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. The old Cooper's delight. Yeah.
Shit, and here's a little bit more context, and we'll get out of, and I'll wrap up. So on May 9th, Detective Griffin and Sudbury drove to Lakeshore Trailer Park and interviewed Damien Echols about the murders. At the time, he was not a suspect.
Just to back up, I do want to repeat that because, I mean, not that it's super important, but at least sets the setting. So Damien was in a trailer park. Did he live with were both his parents there, or was he in a separate households type deal, or do you know offhand?
So his mom and his dad, biological parents, were divorced.
Okay, so they had 2 separate homes, but
so
one of them was
living with his bio mom and his stepdad
in the trailer park. Okay,
yeah.
So I think it's because, I mean, not that it's super important, but to color your idea, I know, for example, my dad, my parents were broke up. He lived in a trailer park when we lived in Maine for a period of time, so it is very different than for example, when I lived with my mom, we had a nice big, huge house, but kind of in the country. So these are very different settings. So being in a trailer park as opposed to being in a house, so it's far more social. So it's far more hoodlum type stuff. So it's natural that there are going to be kids kind of going gallivanting about, getting into mischief. See, exactly this sort of setting here.
This is Damien's house.
So yeah, that totally checks. That makes a whole lot more sense now. Kind of feeling out the vibes here.
Yeah. So this is Damien's house. This is where he lived. And there's nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing wrong with that.
I love trailers. I think it's a great. Honestly, a great way to save a lot of money. And like I said, at the time, this is 93, Arkansas. We're talking about people that are below the poverty line. That's just how it is.
I mean, I would say stray from trailer parks, but there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I would. I know women may cringe at this, but young men out there, especially single guys, I'd say save up that money, get some land, put a trailer on it, and just sit. And then that, there you go.
Dude, some double wides and stuff are better than the homes that are being made nowadays. So
hell, even get an RV, because the idea is just
Right.
that you get the land, and then like whenever you do get a wife later, then you can can
Right.
build up. So
Right. So this is his neighborhood. This is him standing in, the backyard. So this is what we're talking about. And yeah, look at him,
yeah,
not that looks are everything, but it's another data point.
yeah. I mean, it's also the 90s, so I'm looking like what
the
a dork,
90s.
but like it is also like early
the
90s, so it was a different time. Maybe this was really fucking cool.
Yeah. So on May 9th, detectives Griffin and Sudbury drove to Lakeshore Trailer Park and interviewed Echols about the murders. Let's see. This is also kind of interesting to note. Let's see, where is this? So this gives a little bit of context. The yellow squares are where the boys lived and also where the bodies were found. So Robin Hood Hills is halfway in between where Echols lives and where Baldwin lives back in the 90s. So Damien says he'd never been to Robin Hood Hills. He actually didn't even live in West Memphis, is what he says.
These are pretty close too. If you look at it, like I'm just
Right.
judging by the size here. I'd say that these, say for example, the furthest points on the map, Misskelley and Echols, that's probably under 2 miles. Is just judging by the
It's
looks of
within
it.
walking distance.
Yeah, it's a totally walking distance. This is all very close together, like
Right.
super close walking distance. Like, yeah, you might think like, oh, they're far, but no, that's all close walking distance. So the
Easy.
bodies are the perfect meeting spot for the three.
Yeah, Robin Hood Hills is halfway in between both of their houses, and Echols and Damien Echols and Jason Baldwin were best friends. Jessie Misskelley was kind of more of like a hang around. Like he wasn't like a best friend, but he was a friend. They knew each other. They hung out often. But Jason Baldwin and Damien Echols, those two were best friends. And I mean, I can remember when I was young and I would tell my friends, hey, meet me halfway, meet me halfway to your house. We'll meet at the park, or like we'll meet at this place or whatever. And I guarantee they did the same thing. Like that's just how that is. So with this detective thing, let's see. So yeah, they drove to Lakeshore Trailer Park, interviewed Echols about the murders. At the time, so on May 9th, he was not a suspect. In a one-page filed report, Griffin wrote that Echols stated that he had been in charter of Little Rock at Maminel, which is a mental hospital, with a diagnosis of manic depression and schizophrenia. Doctors prescribed impiramine for the condition. Griffin noted that Damien had a pentagram tattooed on his chest. Damien told the detective that he was involved in Wicca and belonged to the group Covenant of Divine Light. He said the murders might be a thrill kill. Griffin took a Polaroid picture of Echols and filed the following investigative report. And then Ramsey posted the picture of the actual report in the book, which I can actually get a copy of next episode. But this is the picture that the detective took. And so, yeah, this is incredibly interesting. He names the coven that he's involved with, which is Covenant of the Divine Light. And the reason I wanted to bring this is because you were asking earlier why the detective asked him, you're only ever going to tell your doctor about this, right? It was because the day before, Damien was telling them all about the fact that he was in a mental hospital and his doctor this and his doctor that. So that's why the detective was asking him directly about that. A couple of other quick things. Let's let's see, May 11th, 1993, Frankie Knight investigative report. Frankie Knight stated to police that Damien Echols could have done the murders and that he was, quote, crazy and, quote, into black magic. Stonehenge, which is a popular meeting area. It was basically like, I'm not really sure how to describe it. Stonehenge was like an abandoned building that all the kids met at. And this is allegedly where the cult met. And there was tons of graffiti at this place that would indicate that very thing. After analyzing the police discussion with Damien Echols, West Memphis police detectives thought it necessary to contact and interview Diana Holcomb, the girlfriend referenced in Echols' interview the day before. Let's see. So Diana Holcomb was interviewed May 11th. Now, Diana, she was Damien Echols' girlfriend before the one he had when he got arrested, before Dominic. And or Deanna, not Diana, Deanna. She actually ran away with Echols. Okay. So he was 17. She was 15, I think. They ran away and they were gone for like a week. Damien ended up, or they ended up being found. Damien got thrown into a mental institution because of this, because he freaked out. He tried to fight the cops and stuff. But there was a plan between Damien and Deanna where Damien was going to get her pregnant. They were going to have a kid in order to sacrifice the kid. Like that was the whole reason to have the kid. Deanna Holcomb, she said she met with Damien Echols and Jason Baldwin at Stonehenge. Deanna confirmed that she and Damien discussed the murder of their firstborn child. So she's telling police this. She also informed Detective Ridge that people in the occult tell inquirers that the form of magic they are involved in is white. So basically, Deanna understood that when Damien is questioned about his magic and stuff, he's going to be like, oh, I'm a white witch. You know, it's basically just to throw him off.
I'm one of the good ones, not one of the wicked ones. Yeah.
Right. Knowing that what they do is black magic, she said Damien would repeat this response. She claimed she was also a black witch and that it started off as a game for the power and, quote, for stuff. She added that Damien was a skilled manipulator of people. According to Deanna, the group would frequent the woods to take drugs. Consistent with the practices of witchcraft, she said that the month of May and the full moon phases were important to the coven. New members would be stripped or skylad for the witching hour between 10 p.m. and 1 p.m. Damien said, she said, liked to play in the sewers, considered them his special place, fucking weirdo, and would enter them through a local manhole. He told her a year before that, quote, he had never killed anyone, but he wanted to know what it would feel like, end quote. She let police know that Echols used to own a knife with a defined serrated ridge and carried it with him in his trench coat. Deanna Holcomb was given a polygraph test, and when asked whether she knew who killed the boys, description was included as seen below. So she was asked. She said she thought it was Damien and Jason and Jessie. They came back, determined that was most likely the truth. After the test, the polygraph report, she told Detective Bill Durham that she thought Damien Echols was involved in the murders. Police then decided to interview Pamela Hutchinson, Damien Echols' biological mother. She arrived at the West Memphis Police Department to be interviewed by Detective Brian Ridge. And we can get into that next episode. But
all right, pretty fascinating episode today. I think we're probably at a pretty good point to end it. We kind of did a little bit of he said, she said, and got a little bit deeper near the end there. We delved a little into the occult and some of the weirdness of Damien Echols.
right.
Next episode, I think we'll finally get into the physical evidence. I think we said it was going to be this episode, but we still had some more he said, she said to get into, which that's evidence as well. But we'll be getting into the physical evidence. We joked before the show. It's kind of be like, the old joke, like, when you're eating pussy, you're like, oh, you brought dick too? Like, that's what we're doing here. So sorry to be crass, but
Yep.
but yes, so we're you'd think this is more than enough, but we'll be getting into the physical evidence here pretty shortly. But Jacob, let people know where they can find you, and we'll be back with another one of these here soon. I'm not sure exactly when. I know we have Christmas next week, so maybe it'll be a couple weeks for the next one. But we'll get together. We'll schedule something. I mean, I see you every week anyways over on Already Dead. But let us know where they can find you at. I know you've already kind of done a big old West Memphis 3 series and doing an ongoing Satanic Panic series on your show. So just let my audience know where they can find you at, please.
Yeah, of course. So just like Jose said, we'll be doing the physical evidence and stuff, but the he said, she said keeps popping back up. So it's going to kind of flow in between both. So that's just kind of how this case flows, unfortunately, or fortunately. But the best place to find me is anywhere Rise to Liberty or at Rise to Liberty. You can go to my master link, which is allmylinks.com/Rise to Liberty. And it pulls up every single platform, all my donation links, all the important stuff. And yes, I do have a couple of scripted West Memphis 3 episodes on the way. The scripts are done. I'm in the middle of recording them. But they're going to be like more traditional style YouTube documentary style stuff. So I've got part 1 and part 2 coming. I am also in the middle of a Satanic Panic is Real series, which is kind of like everything where I sometimes will pull up research and we'll just do research as like a community, or I'll have something already planned. I'll read from some books and I'll make some different arguments. We'll review documentaries, new documentaries and old documentaries, and I'll interject. And, we just kind of do all sorts of fun stuff all over the place. But the point is to tear apart the Satanic Panic, PSYOP, and the propaganda piece by piece. It's going to eventually be hundreds and hundreds of episodes. I don't really care. I'm here for it. So come on over, check it out. And I think you guys will get a big kick out of it.
Well, hell yeah. For those who want to support what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well at Tower Gang Jose. And if you want to support the show in the best way you can do that with money right here over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. QR code right there for those people who want to use that. And there you get access to early episodes, a whole host of perks. Try to keep 1 to 2 of those behind the paywall episodes at any given time. Or every week, I meant to say. I keep about 4 behind the paywall at any given time. You also get access to the ad-free RSS feed. You get access to Telegram. You get access to the pre-show, the post-show, and video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Give us a call. Give us some questions. And I also give a big shout-out to my sponsors, which is the highest level of my Patreon. Every episode is a big thank you for their support. I have my previous co-host on Tower Gang, at Learner Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZeoVRCK, at _Infinite Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly Klebold. Big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Tackles, 1-800 Car for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. And with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Love you all. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.